had no idea I was live, y'all. This is day 10 of 30, I believe. And I just wanted to come live for just a couple of minutes. I wanted to just share with you guys that, you know, we all have a story. And I had an amazing interview for my podcast. In case y'all don't know, I have a podcast, Straight Outta Savannah, where I interview generally spiritual entrepreneurs, but this young man called to me to interview, so I interviewed him. And it was amazing. And he said something that really, really, really made me think. He said, never stop sharing your story. And so why that made me think is because I feel like I have shared my story and shared my story and shared my story. And I have talked and talked and talked. And sometimes I feel like I'm talking to myself, you know. And so when he said that, it really made me think. Sometimes people haven't heard your story. And sometimes the right person comes along that needs to hear your story. And being a person of service, I have worked in the medical field for 33 years, taking care of people. And so I'm a person of service. And I actually love that. You know, sometimes too much. You know, sometimes we give too much. And sometimes we're out of balance with our giving and receiving cycles as well. That's a whole another topic. But I wanted to just share about this story because I'm not sure if I've shared my story about how I almost left this earth. So I have given birth to 2 children. I have 3, which is a blessing. The third one was a bonus, and I'm so excited about that. But I gave birth to 2. And so the second one I gave birth to, I had a lot of issues with the delivery. Now, the pregnancy really wasn't that bad. I did gain way too much weight. Oh, my God. I think I gained 40 pounds, which was already too much. But I believe that when I started having delivery, I went through a lot emotionally and mentally during that pregnancy because my husband and I were having issue and there was drama. I actually left where we lived and went back home so that my mom, my parents, you know, were there and could help me with my other baby while I was getting ready to deliver the other one. And so that they would even be there because that was something that I desired. And plus, my mom actually could feel the stress that I was dealing with at that time. So it was actually a good thing that I did that. But in the meantime, my ex-husband was really abusive in the fact that when I was about 8 months pregnant, he called me and said that he was leaving me. Now, back then, we did not have cell phones. This was in 1991. So we didn't have cell phones. So he had to call. He couldn't text, email, none of that stuff. But he called, and this is what he said. And so, of course, me being 8 months pregnant, and I already had another little one that was like 18 months old, I went into a bit of depression. I did. And I think back now, I didn't even realize, how it affected me until I started really thinking about it later. But my grandmother was amazing. And so I spent a lot of time with her because she was my person. And so I was with her one day and I was talking to her about it. And I was like, I can't believe he did that. And I was just so upset and I was crying. And so my grandmother said, you're going to have to stop that crying. She said, and let that go right now because you're going to kill your baby. That's what she said. And so I was like, I don't want to kill my baby. I can't kill my baby, especially I've been carrying him all this time, and I knew he was a boy. So, when I got ready to deliver, I think that my body was in such fight or flight, and I was so, stressed from this situation, even though, I stopped crying and I tried to, get myself, raise my vibrations and, my frequency and all this good stuff. But still yet, I was in a pickle. And so I believe that when I delivered this child, which I ended up having to have a C-section after they let me labor for 20-something hours. Y'all see that view behind me? They let me labor for 20-something hours, but, you know, I was young and I didn't know. And I actually tried to get the doctor to get the baby before 27 hours or whatever it was. But that didn't happen. So anyway, after I delivered this baby, my body started shutting down. You know, my lungs shut down. I was on oxygen. My stomach shut down, and I went through some changes in my body. And so, and eventually the doctor called the Red Cross and told them that he needed to get my husband to come home because his wife was dying and he was going to have to get his baby. Now that kind of sobered me a little bit. I really didn't even realize how sick I was, you know, because I'm that kind of person. But at that point I was like, okay, I'm not ready to die. You know, I think I was 22 years old. I said, I'm not ready to die. And I had 2 little babies at that time, by that time. And I said, I'm not ready to die. So I was praying, of course. My grandmother, who was my pastor, and she was a pastor, preacher, teacher, evangelist, prophetess type, she was praying and fasting. And I didn't realize even at that point that she was fasting, you know, all the whole days I was in the hospital, which was 2 weeks. So I was in the hospital for 2 weeks, trying to live, you know, trying to get myself together. And I didn't realize until here recently how that affected me. So let me move, because of course as soon as I start talking they want to start making noise. It's what people do. So anyhow the space that I was in at the time, it was a place of growth for me. I realize now, you know, because at 22 years old, you know, what the hell do I know? I don't know about y'all, but at 22 years old, I didn't know a lot. I thought I knew way more than I did. But I share this to say that, you know, I went through a whole lot of stuff at young ages, you know, and right now I am under 2 weeks from being 55. And I'm super excited about it because when I think about it, that wasn't the only time that I could have lost my life, but that was the first time. And I'm just grateful to be here. You know, I'm grateful to be able to serve, you know, because I work with clients now that are dealing with some things, some issues, you know. I work with clients and help them to learn how to get into their bodies and how to heal and how to connect to God, universe, source, how to work with their gifts. So I really want to invite you into my world. I want to invite you into my world. So if what I'm saying to you is speaking to you, and if you're watching me, I'm sure that it is, then reach out to me, send me a message. You can send me a message on Facebook Messenger, Instagram, TikTok Messenger. I'm all over those platforms. Or you can comment below this video because I do try to go back and look at the comments. So if that's speaking to you and you are looking for some support, you know, maybe you've been through a crisis like I have, you know, and maybe it's taken you some years to get through it or to even look at it, because it took me some years actually to look at that thing. You know, even though I went through it, it took me some years to process it, you know, and I try to help people not take years to process these things. So I have a few different ways you can work with me. and you can reach out and we'll have a conversation and see if something I have can help you. I also have a workshop coming up on the 17th of November, and it's on Eventbrite. I'll also drop the link in the comments. But it's on awakening your intuition, and it's really helping you to learn how to use your gifts and connect to God, universe, source, whatever you call him, her, or them. But again, this is Tammy Morrison. I have loved being with you, but it is time for me to go because I have to go take a test. So again, thank you so much for joining me. Bye now.